This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
Welcome to Inside the Jungle, your favorite show for Auburn basketball. I am your co-host, Chandler Fullman. I'm joined alongside my other co-host, Jase Phillips. Jase, not a great time to be an Auburn basketball fan.
No, not right now, but plenty of great opportunities ahead, and that starts on Saturday.
Yes, as we welcome the East Mississippi Red Wave into town. Or no, I think it's the East Mississippi Little Squeaky Elephants or something like that. But anyways, we welcome Alabama into town on Saturday, the number 3 team in the nation. College game day coming to town. Just a huge opportunity at hand for Auburn to get back on track. And what better place to do it than Neville Arena?
I agree. It's a very, very, very special place and a hard place to come into to win. And I think that goes to show you, winning around 29 of about 30 games in a row, not many teams can do that at home. So I just think that speaks just a testament to how tough it is to come into the jungle and win.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But let's get started discussing the last 6 games. We've got to do a better job of recording more often. We're sorry to our listeners. We're sorry to Kyle. Please forgive us. But we will. We're gonna try to get a recording every 2 or 3 games from now on. But it's just been hard with all the losses. I mean, it's just been. We have felt defeated, but we're finally getting a chance to record tonight, so we're thankful for that. But we'll start with the South Carolina game. I went up to the Palmetto State. Quick shout-out to the Palmetto Pig. Great barbecue place about a half mile from Colonial Life Arena. It's a barbecue buffet. They got yellow mustard sauce that's amazing. Cannot recommend that place enough. Wonderful barbecue. But moving on, getting on to basketball. That's what this show is about, right? Auburn wins the basketball game versus South Carolina at South Carolina, 81-66. And South Carolina has been struggling. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat. What am I trying to say? Sugarcoat it, yeah. There's no way to sugarcoat it. South Carolina is a struggling team with a first-year head coach. They do have the number 1 recruit in the nation, G.G. Jackson.
They do.
And he looked quite dominant in person.
Yeah. Especially in that second half.
Yeah.
He really got to go. And thankfully, we were able to jump out and get a big lead early. And and very thankfully, not let it dwindle down. I think they might have got it down to 6 or 8 in the second half.
Yeah.
And other than that, I believe we had control pretty much, the whole game, first and second half. And a big credit to Janai Broome and Wendell Green, who we've kind of relied on all season. Janai Broome with 27 points, 11 rebounds. He's kind of become a double-double machine. And Wendell Green with 16 points. But really just the whole team really took quality looks. It weren't necessarily threes. We only made 3 threes the whole game, but we drove the basketball. We got to the free throw line. We scored inside the paint. We just got a lot of really quality looks that weren't necessarily threes, which I felt like was really big for this team.
Yeah, it was a quality. I don't know if I'd say quality win, but a good win that you were supposed to win, and we came away with the win. So good job for the Tigers on that. But now we move into the games that were not so fun. We have struggled here as of the last 5 games. I believe we're 1-4 in the last 5 games. So let's just get started. Just get it out of the way. Texas A&M at home. It ended our 28-game home winning streak.
Yep.
And A&M, it was really not even in question most of the game. I mean, you felt like Auburn could pull within, I think we got pulled within like 6 or 7 or
so.
at one point. but that's about as close as we got.
Every time we had a chance to cut it, it seemed like we turn it over, and then just like that, they hit another big shot to silence the crowd, and it was just very hard for the crowd to get into it, and being a midweek game, obviously no excuse. We still need students especially to show up, but I do think it was a big exam week, so the jungle was not near to the capacity it normally is, so that didn't help either. But no excuse. Credit to A&M. They came out, they shot the ball well, they defended well, as Buzz Williams teams do. You got to give it to him. He really coaches his team to play physical on the defensive end, similar to Bruce, and they were able to find ways to disrupt us. And once again, Wendell and Janai both had 16, but the story of this season has kind of been who's going to be that third man to step up, because Wendell and Janai can't do it on their own.
No, and that's been proven here in the last 5 games. Wendell and Janai have played pretty well almost every game, but they just have not had really much help.
No.
We've got to have Jalen Williams step up. Got to have Alan Flanagan step up. And I think one of the biggest factors, in my opinion, is the lack of contribution from our 2-guard. Zep Jasper, the starter, has been scoreless like 7 or 8 games this year, if not more.
And KD Johnson, you just never know what you're going to get with KD. He might come out and give you a run with about 6 to 8 straight points, and he might come out and foul a few times and turn the ball over a few times and then find his way back on the bench. There hasn't been any consistency at that spot, at least on the offensive end. Both of those guys play very, very physical and aggressive on the defensive end and really help us out there, but both have just really struggled offensively this year.
Yeah, definitely. But really, Auburn struggled against Texas A&M, and Auburn, I felt like, played way better at College Station tonight, as we are recording on Tuesday night, than they did at home. Felt like Auburn made more shots at College Station, but at the end of the day, it just was not Auburn's night, and Auburn takes the loss and ends the 28-game home winning streak. But then we had a chance to rebound in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, traveling up to Morgantown, West Virginia. A great opportunity to come away with a big win, but we did not.
We didn't. But I will say that game, I felt like, said a lot about this team. I wasn't sure how this team would respond when they got down big to a quality opponent, but I believe we got down maybe even as much as 18 in the second half. I know it was 16, and I think it might have even got up to 18 at one time in the second half. And for us to battle back and have a chance to win that game at the end on a shot, I just think that says something about your ball club. And, obviously, I'm just noticing this now. It seems like every game we've lost, the team has had one player that has just gone off. When we lost to A&M at home to end our streak, Tyrese Radford scored 30. We went to West Virginia, Eric Stevenson 31, and neither could miss.
Yeah.
And that's obviously credit to them for getting their guys quality looks, but those two guys have, anytime you play a team and they have a player score 30, it's going to be hard for you to win, even if you do play a good basketball game.
Yeah. Eric Stevenson, the transfer from South Carolina, that guy's a player. There's nothing that can be said other than he is a baller and he is a player.
He is, and I'll tell you what, if South Carolina had him this year, they might be a team looking to get in the tournament right now.
Yeah, with him and Gigi. But from Auburn's end, it wasn't really as much of an offensive struggling night as much as it was a defensive struggling night. Auburn did it, like Jay said, Auburn shot the ball way better in the second half, going from 40% from the field in the first half to 56% from the field in the second half. We made 2 more threes, and we also made 3 more free throws. So we shot the ball way better during the second half, but like I said, it wasn't really much of an offensive struggling night. I mean,
we just got and the first half just killed us. I mean, you can't get down by 16 on the road and expect to come back from a deficit like that, especially against a team that's pretty good, and a team that was on that day.
Yeah.
You just can't get down that much on the road and scrum your way back, even if you are a good team. It's just very tough, because you're not only going against that team, but you're going against their environment, and that plays a big role in that. And so credit to them for getting out early, and it almost feels like if we just would have played decent defensively in that first half, that we would have won that game. Ended up maybe pulling away by about 10 or so if we just would have played halfway decent in the first half.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Because I mean, other than Stevenson hitting some, clutch shots at the end, I mean, we pretty much dominated that second half.
Yeah, it's been the kind of, as of recent here, it's been the coulda, woulda, shoulda show.
Definitely.
We could have done stuff, we should have done stuff, and we would have done stuff, but we didn't. And that's what it came down to. But Jalen Williams, we had 4 guys in double digits. Jalen Williams with 18, Janai Broom with 15, Alan Flanagan with 13, and KD Johnson with 10. Wendell had 9 points. Struggled much of the day from the field. Only shot 2 of 10, 1 of 5 from 3. I mean, like Jay said, you can't get down 16, 18 points and expect to come back and win.
Nope.
It's too difficult. But let's move on to positive.
Yep, some good news.
Auburn hosted Georgia on Wednesday, February 1st, and they came away with a 94-73 win. And quite a solid game from the Tigers, pretty much from everybody.
Definitely. Once again, Wendell and Janai both leading us in scoring up. Well, actually, Flanagan had a really big game. Flanagan actually led scoring with 22 points, but right there behind him are 2 reliables that pretty much have been all year. Janai with 19 and Wendell with 18. Janai with not only 19 points, but 18 rebounds. I mean, he really was putting on a show and showing out that night, and also going 3 for 3 from the free throw line, which is big. As much as Janai's getting fouled this season, for him to step up and be 100% on the night from the free throw line.
Yes, I would echo that. And like you said, big night from Alan Flanagan. Very encouraging to see him go off for 22 points and just have a big night. And really, this game was never really in question. Auburn was in control pretty much all night during this game. So it was nice to have a big, relaxing victory for Auburn, because the last 2 games have been quite miserable.
And one thing, just looking at the bench scoring, even in a game where we're winning by 21 points, we're getting outscored on the bench points by double digits. And that's something that is kind of, I'm not going to say rare, but that's something that we used not to see the past few years with our Auburn teams. Is our bench points have normally been what's been really good for us compared to other teams. I feel like we were all expecting to have that depth this year, and we've really just lacked the depth that we thought we would have. And I think that a big part of that is just not necessarily getting what we thought we would from some of our first-year players.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But moving on to the Auburn versus Tennessee game, it was up in Knoxville.
Another very winnable game.
Yes, a winnable game. What a wonderful defensive effort from the Tigers. Except the problem was as good as the defensive effort was, holding Tennessee to, I believe, a season low 46 points. The offense was just as equally, if not more, atrocious. I mean, we scored 43, and it was everything we could do to get to 43. It was an ugly, ugly game for the Tigers and the Volunteers from an offensive perspective.
And talk about, 43 points. I believe we scored 10 points in the first 4 or 5 minutes of that game. We got off to a start that made you think we were going to score in the 70s or 80s, and who would have thought that we'd only score, a fourth of that in 5 minutes and only score 30 more points or 33 more points the rest of the game. So a fourth of our scoring came in the first 5 minutes of the game, and credit to Tennessee, they made adjustments. Rick Barnes is a great defensive coach, and because Janai Broome started off the game, we were just going to him, and they didn't have an answer. They made adjustments, and Broome got a little frustrated, and we've really kind of seemed this year to let our emotions get the best of our performance. That's something I've noticed with this team that sometimes is our weakness, is letting our emotions get the best of the next play. Letting the offense translate into bad defense, or letting a bad defensive play translate into a turnover on the offensive side. Just playing too much off of emotions and not moving on to the next play.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but Auburn just couldn't hit a bear in the butt with a bass fiddle.
No.
We could not hit the broadside of a barn. It was ridiculous. Auburn's shooting was atrocious. Only 5 players scored all game. And
there you go again. Zep Jasper, 0. Another example, which only shooting one time. I think that's probably also plays into our 2 spot. It's not as much that I don't think Zep's capable of scoring, but I feel like we don't ever set anything up for the two guard for Zep, and he's got a good shot. I feel like every time Zep shoots, it's usually on the mark, and if he misses, it's usually right there around the rim. And so, but on the flip side of that, Zep did a fantastic job of shutting down Santiago Vescovi. And I think that was our game plan. Shut down Vescovi and make somebody else beat you. And I wouldn't necessarily say somebody else beat us as much as we just beat ourselves, turning the ball over and not taking good shots. And when we did have open shots, not knocking them down. So I felt like that really hurt us in that game.
Yeah, and something I see that's kind of noteworthy is former Auburn big recruit Julian Phillips?
Yep.
Only had 2 points. Great defensive effort.
Because he's been averaging, I think, double digits.
Yes, he's been one of the Vols' key players, and he's been averaging 9.2 points per game. So limiting him was huge. And like I said, Auburn did a tremendous job defensively. It's just our offense was just atrocious, and that has been the case a lot of this season. I don't think I should say most of the games that we have lost this season, but because sometimes it's the defensive effort, sometimes it's the offensive effort. It just depends. But let's move on to the most recent game, which was tonight. Auburn falls 83-78 to Texas A&M. Texas A&M gets the season sweep over the Tigers, and Auburn was in the lead, I would say, most of the night tonight.
Yeah, I would agree. We got on a run there in the first half, and what looked like, to me, I was thinking we were going to go into half up by about 8 to 10 points. And A&M, went on a run before half. I believe there wasn't a foul called in the first 6 minutes of the game, and boy, did that change quick. So they capitalized off of their free throws, and we really didn't tonight, only shooting about 64% from the line. And I think that, looking down the stretch, losing by 5 points we missed 5 free throws. And
Yeah.
I'm not expecting you to go 100% from the free throw line, but we missed some down the stretch, especially from Wendell Green. Wendell is normally our reliable from the line, and he was 3 of 6 tonight from the free throw line. That's something, as good of a game as he had down the stretch. Free throws were kind of disappointing as far as coming from Wendell Green.
Yeah, and I think the biggest factor, in my opinion, was Auburn shot 14 free throws. A&M shot 39 free throws. Even if Auburn would have gone 14 to 14, Texas A&M still made 31 free throws out of their 39 attempts.
I agree.
And that's just the story of the game. I feel like tonight was Auburn did not drive the ball enough. And I feel like a large part of it was we didn't get the ball inside to Janai near like we needed to. And Janai and Jalen both getting in foul trouble hurt us late in the game. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we got to – I mean, the refs, I'm not going to say they were great or good, but they were – I mean, I would say they were consistent. The first half they didn't really call anything, and the second half they called everything. But it wasn't really they were doing it for one team or the other. It was just Auburn was not driving the ball. Auburn did not initiate the contact near enough.
And we didn't defend without fouling.
Yeah.
I want to say that I read there was a 12-minute stretch where A&M made 3 shots, and they were right there in the game the whole time because I believe they got fouled on 5 or 6 straight possessions in a row, and that's just something that can't happen when you're defending the ball. You've got to defend without fouling.
Yeah, I would agree, and just a disappointing loss tonight because I felt like we had it in our hands most of the night, and this is the first time I'm looking at the stat line. Leading scorer was Wendell with 20, shocker. Janai with 18 was next, shocker again. And then the third shocker is Jalen and Allen are the only other 2 in double digits with 12 each. But besides those 4, the contribution is next to nothing.
Right.
And that's the problem. I mean, when on a night where 1 or 2 of those 4 are struggling, we've got to have somebody else step up. I mean, you got to have a Zep Jasper, or a KD Johnson, or a Leor Berman, or a Chris Moore, or Yohan Traore. Somebody's got to step up.
Agreed.
And that's what it comes down to is those are the only really 4 players that are scoring for the team. And it's tough to win when you only have 4 players that are really contributing in points.
Which credit to, I agree to an extent, but looking at this, I did not realize that 4 of those players play 30 or more minutes every game. So everyone else is playing less than 10 minutes a game. So they aren't playing many minutes, but when they are in, we're not really scoring much during that time.
Yeah.
And thankfully at times we defend well, and that's been another thing when we are defending the basketball. I mean, we're a hard team to beat because we stay in games, but when we don't play, you can't not play defense when you're not performing well offensively.
Yeah, and watching the highlights right here, we were tied 74-74 with about 3.5 minutes left, and then they just attacked Janai because he had 4 fouls two times down the floor in a row, and Janai was unable to really do anything because he had 4 fouls.
I agree, but I also think that when you've got just a couple minutes left in the game, you've got to contest.
Oh, yeah.
If you foul out at that point, it's not doesn't really matter because points with a couple minutes left, that's the difference between losing 83-78 or maybe coming out with a 2-point win.
Yeah, I agree, but it was just a tough night to be an Auburn Tiger.
Been a tough couple weeks.
Yeah, it's a tough couple weeks, but what a chance for us to right the ship and get back on track coming this Saturday.
Really, the next 4 games. I mean, with a
Yeah.
win Saturday, and then you got Missouri at home, at Vanderbilt, and Ole Miss at home. I mean, if you win Alabama, that could give you momentum to go on a 4-game winning streak right there. And if you could somehow do that and have that momentum going into Rupp, I mean, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, that's true. But just the if we get to 11 wins in conference, I feel like there's no doubt we are in the tournament.
I think if you could just get to about 10 and one of your wins comes against an Alabama or a Tennessee or a Kentucky, I think that's enough to get you in, because with your 2 wins over Northwestern and St. Louis right now, who are both looking like they might be tournament teams, I think that, and just, I hate to say this, but we have seen it be proven effective is, if you have been proven to be a tournament team the last few years, that those teams seem to get a nod a lot of the times over others.
Yeah. So hopefully Auburn is, with our blue blood history, Auburn is a blue blood, and Auburn's historically a basketball school.
Right.
So, as one of my friends would say, Auburn fans have been basketball fans for what, like 5 years, 6 years. But hopefully Auburn can find a way in the tourney, and but we'll see. But any more thoughts, Jase, for this episode?
I don't think so. Save your voice if you're going to the game Saturday, because we're gonna need you there, and we're gonna need you loud, because it's gonna take a lot to be able to pull it off on Saturday.
I'm ready to get off to one of those, I think it was like 8-0 or 10-0 starts that we had against Texas A&M.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Where we thought
and actually keep it this time.
Yeah, where if we would have been playing Alabama in that game and we had started off on that same way, a 10-0 run, I think the roof may have blown off the place. So
I think they would have had to postpone the game.
Yes, the arena may have come crashing down. So that's what I'm hoping for. Well, not necessarily the arena crashing down, but I'm hoping to make that much noise and just have a great environment on Saturday, and I think it will be. I fully expect the Pearlville to be taking place with the students camping out the night before, and
they might be out there right now.
That's true. That's very true. They might have very well be out there right now. Just a huge game for the Auburn Tigers. But I think that'll just about do it on this episode of Inside the Jungle. Thank you for listening, and until next time, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.